electronic, harmonic, ionic, bionic, atomic. It will astonish you, it's magical and casual, actual but classical, practical and factual. Harmonic.
Well, this all started last week. Somebody put a comment on one of my videos that said, I've got a very hypnotic voice. And I have to admit that I did have some training in clinical hypnosis at one point. Now, this led me mentioning that led to a conversation with some of my friends, and I suddenly realised that nobody out there really knows that much about hypnosis, and there are some good reasons why. Firstly, professional hypnotists need to get insurance, and if it was generally known the sort of things that you can do with hypnosis, then that insurance would be extremely difficult to get, and if you could get it, would be exceptionally expensive. This particular induction is another confusion type induction, the tap induction, and it's already started. The hypnotist is at the front, and he's now grabbed hold of the shopkeeper and he's putting him in a trance. Once again, I'm not exactly allowed to describe how this works, but the shopkeeper isn't worried as he pulls the day's takings out of his pockets, and then suddenly the shopkeeper realised what's going on. So it wasn't a very deep trance, was it? Now here we have a woman who has an extreme phobia of pigeons and birds, and the hypnotist on the right has spent maybe 30 minutes with her, and look how she is with all these pigeons.
Look, isn't that amazing? Look at him, isn't that cool?
There is no way that these people wanted to do these things. There is no way that the storekeepers wish to give over the money. There is no way that the people with phobias wish to touch the object of their phobia. But the hypnotist has somehow managed to make them do it. Now, I have to be very careful in this country because it is actually illegal, and here's another little pointer, to show hypnotic techniques in the UK. I can show someone who has been hypnotised, I can show trance deepening, I can show the implantation of hypnotic suggestion, but I cannot show a hypnotic induction. Can I? I might be able to show other people doing hypnotic inductions, and as you've seen, you've actually already seen a couple of hypnotic inductions on that video, and these are what is called confusion inductions. It's a very rapid induction technique, but it doesn't produce a very deep trance, as you can tell, because in one case the storekeeper recovered in time nearly to stop the guy from getting away with the money, but nonetheless it's effective. Now, I was looking for video of a particular thing which I couldn't find, and that was, there was a Russian street robber, and what he used to do was he used to spot old people leaving a bank on the basis that in Russia old people have savings and are relatively wealthy, and he would actually sit with them, steer them to a park bench, sit with them for maybe 15 or 20 minutes and be talking to them, putting them in a trance, deepening that trance, giving them instructions, and then the old person would go into the bank, they would withdraw the entirety of their life savings, put it into a carrier bag which had been given to them by the hypnotist outside, walk out of the bank, give him the carrier bag, sit down on the bench for 15 minutes, and then walk away. And no, they didn't want to do that either. But you see, this is the thing, that yes, you can hypnotise someone very quickly, but it can take 15 minutes or up to an hour with some individuals to get them into a really deep trance where they're going to accept instructions and act upon those instructions even when you're not around. And this is all what clinical hypnosis is about, rather than the stage hypnosis, which is the rapid trance. So let's have a look and see some things that you may not actually regard as being hypnosis, but are. What you're about to see is a hypnotic induction. Now the chances are that the people doing this don't realise that what they're doing is a hypnotic induction. This is a Christian healing session in the streets in Dudley in England. And now this is a typical healing ministry type pose. There's a hand on the shoulder, there's a hand in the centre of the back, and a hand on top of the head. Now this is a hypnotic induction, and people don't realise this. And the people are talking to her quite calmly, and it is obvious that she is completely under their control. And she feels controlled, and she feels calm. And you can actually see her coming out of and slipping back into trance. Now this is one way in which hypnosis can be achieved. This is quite a shallow. Now the UK government has done a lot of research on hypnosis during the Second World War, and they came to the conclusion that hypnosis is a very dangerous thing. And I've just shown you a few hypnotic inductions, and it might interest you to know that there are much quicker hypnotic inductions. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate any, but there is one hypnotic induction that just consists of tapping on the table or any other useful object, or even tapping on the person that you are hypnotising a particular rhythm, and then issuing a command. And these sorts of covert hypnotic inductions, thankfully not many people know how to do them. Otherwise there would be an awful lot more of those hypnotic robberies than there actually are. Now, why am I producing this video? Because I think people ought to know. I think people ought to be slightly on their guard. And hypnosis is used in all sorts of places. You probably, if you drive, you probably hypnotise yourself every day but don't even realise it. Now, have you ever had the experience of driving somewhere and forgetting how you actually got there, or forgetting a large part of the journey? Sure you have. Everyone who drives has. And what's happened there is you've put yourself in a trance state, and you're perfectly capable of reacting to traffic situations and driving perfectly normally, but your conscious mind is not actually aware of the fact that you're driving. And this is all hypnosis is. Hypnosis is direct communication with the subconscious mind, leaving the conscious mind as much as possible out of the loop. So you need to be aware if someone is trying to hypnotise you, and how you counter that hypnosis. If someone is trying to hypnotise you, very likely they'll try to confuse you. They might grab hold of your hand like in a handshake type movement and pull it in front of your face and do various other things. If you feel like something unusual is happening with a person, especially if you don't really trust that person, then think of the most catchy tune that you possibly can. Could be a nursery rhyme, could be a pop song, and start playing it in your head really, really loudly so that it drowns out that person's voice. This is really the only defense that a human being has against hypnotism, and it's not a perfect defense. If the hypnotist realizes you're doing it and he has the time, he can get around that. Now, people often say to me, "Oh, I can't be hypnotized." Rubbish. Anybody can be hypnotized. It is just a question of finding the correct technique and having enough time to do it if they're exceptionally resistant. Now, what can a hypnotist make you do? If they've got enough time, anything. Could they make you kill someone? Yeah, sure they could. There was recently a show on English TV by a hypnotist called Derren Brown, and he was fascinated by the theories around the assassinations in America of various presidents, and were they done by hypnotically trained killers. So he decided to train his own hypnotically controlled killer. And you can Google the show, Derren Brown, and he basically got a man off the street who was selected to be particularly compliant with the hypnotic techniques that Derren used. He got him off the street and within a few weeks turned him into someone who would kill on command, and he got him to kill Stephen Fry, who is an English comedian. Not for real, obviously. The gun he was given was a gun he had fired earlier at a shooting range, and he knew that at that time it contained live ammunition. There was no reason for him to suppose in the theatre when he was in trance that the gun had blanks, but he went through with it, and then he didn't remember it. So this was the entire crux of the thing. The man was taken, he was shown how to shoot. He had never shot a gun before in his life. He was taken to a firing range and he was given hypnotic tuition as to how to be a marksman. He was then given tuition on reacting to a particular stimulus. In this case it was a girl in a polka dot dress. He was then given tuition on forgetting afterwards, and it all worked. It all worked absolutely fine. So the conclusion you can draw is that yes, you can use hypnosis for practically anything, and that's quite a scary thought when you realise that probably 99.999% of the human population can be hypnotised and don't know how to protect themselves from it. Well, I hope you've found this interesting and instructive, and I hope it stops you from being hypnotically robbed or even being hypnotised by certain advertisements on the TV which do use hypnotic techniques, and that you find it interesting and that you like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, you can wake up now.
Hello again. Holly here. Now, I know lots of you naughty people have been wanting to know who I am, but I'm not going to bore you with the sordid details. Instead, I'm going to tell you why you should subscribe to our Arduinotronic today. And trust me, there are so many good reasons. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Because I frickin' say so. Alright?